Hello, hello, hello. I hope you guys all had a fantastic New Year's. Let's get started. Chapter 7 The Memory of Dawn. In 2 hours the performance would begin. Derek sat in his room, trying not to think about it. He wasn't trying, in fact, not to think about much of anything. For though he had memorized practically the entire play and felt as if he could perform his blocking blindfolded, he was afraid that if he ran through it in his mind now, at this late date, it would fall out of his memory as surely as his identity had. After all, he had no idea what the cause of his amnesia was. It might have been caused by a severe blow to the head, or a serious case of oxygen deprivation, but it could have some kind of disease as well. A disease that caused him to lose his memory several times, forcing him to start his search for his identity again and again. Such a disease could strike at any moment, such as 3 minutes before the production was to begin. Derek shrugged and lay down on his bed. Well, in such an eventuality, at least he would be spared the humiliation of embarrassment, he decided. He wouldn't remember anything or anybody. The most terrible part of his fantasy, which he admitted was a little paranoid, but perhaps wasn't totally unwarranted under the circumstances, was that in the past he could have lost, time and time again, the companionship of intelligent beings who meant just as much to him as Ariel and Woolruff and Mandelbrot did now. Maybe I should start thinking about the play, he thought. It might be safer. The most important thing for him to remember was the secret purpose of the production. To watch Kennete's reactions during the little surprises Derek had cooked up for the robot. For, as Hamlet hoped to force Claudius to reveal his guilt while watching the play from the play, Derek hoped Kennete would at last be forced to confront its true nature. This was a nature Kennete had steadfastly avoided confronting during rehearsals. When praised for its work in designing the theatre, Kennete had admitted only that it was following orders, that it had given nothing of itself that was not logical. When it performed a scene particularly well during rehearsal, Kennete had admitted only to following orders explicitly, performed mechanically as only a robot could. But with luck, Kennete by now a case of robotic overconfidence. Derek's plans hinged on the hope that Kennete believed it had already weathered the worst part of the investigation. Of course, there was always the possibility that the surprises wouldn't work. What if they didn't? Then what would Derek have to do? Derek realized he was wound up pretty tight. He relaxed with an effort. Then, when his thoughts began to turn automatically to the same matters, he tensed up again and had to relax with a second effort. Was this some sort of stage fright? If it was, he supposed it could have been worse. He could have been performing before humans. There was a knock at the door. "Come in," he said, crossing his feet and putting his hands behind his head, so that whomever it was would think he was facing the coming performance with a mood of utter calm. "Jumping galaxies, you look terrible!" said Ariel breathlessly as she closed the door behind her. "You must be nervous. It's good to know I'm not the only one." Derek just sat straight and planted his feet on the floor. Just by being there she had taken his breath away. She was in her costume, a blonde wig and a white gown that clung to her body as if it had been spun from a spider's web. Her makeup heightened the color of her cheeks and lips, and made her skin appear a healthier shade of pale. He hadn't realized she could look so beautiful, with such an inner aliveness. Of course, when he thought of all the circumstances that they had faced together, being thrown into a hospital together, running away from something, being stranded somewhere, it stood to reason that she had never before had the opportunity to accentuate her natural femininity. Her beauty in the costume was familiar, yet it was also something new, as if he had glimpsed it in a long forgotten dream. But if she'd noticed his reaction, that is, if she revealed any of it, she gave no indication as she sat on the bed beside him. However, she glared at him because of his second reaction. It must have been none too flattering, for she looked like he had hit her over the head with a rubber chicken. "What's the matter with you?" she asked. "What's that smell?" he replied. "Oh, I had Mandelbrot synthesize some perfume for me. I thought it might help keep me in character." "It's very pleasant." "That's not what your face said at first." "That's because I wasn't sure what I was smelling." Not much of a compliment. It's supposed to smell good whether or not you know what it is. Please, I've forgotten my social training along with the rest of my memory. Your face said it smelled like fertilizer. I'm not even sure I know what fertilizer smells like. She pursed her lips and looked away from him, but he couldn't help noticing that her hand was very close to his on the bed. Their fingers were almost touching. "Nervous?" she asked. He shrugged. "Nah, for all I know this could be my first encounter of perfume." "I meant the play, silly." "Oh, well, maybe a little. Hey, for all I know it could be an old hand at this." "I see. Do you think your amnesia could sometimes be a blessing in disguise?" "Ariel, something's bothering you. Are you well?" "Reasonably well. Doing this play has given me something relatively constructive to concentrate on, though I'm not sure it was a good idea for me to play someone who goes mad. I'm beginning to realize how uncomfortably it mirrors my own predicament." "Would you rather play Hamlet's mother?" "No, well, maybe. But why couldn't I play Hamlet himself? I'd heard all over the stage, and you said so yourself just yesterday, that I can definitely emote. Like crazy, if you'll forgive my choice of words." "The role has been undertaken occasionally by women, according to theatre history texts. I'm sure the robots would be only too postronically fulfilled to support you in a production of Hamlet, or of any other play." "I meant, why couldn't I play Hamlet in this production?" "Aha! You had your chance, but you volunteered to play Ophelia first. You were guilty of your own biased thinking, before I had the chance to engage in my biased thinking, that is." "That's true," she replied, in tones a bit more serious than he thought his words warranted. "Besides, I think there's reasons why you picked Hamlet, beyond the ones that have to do with Canate. You could have picked any number of plays, you know, like Othello, or Julius Salad." "That's Julius Caesar." "Right. Anyway, I think you already saw a lot of yourself in him. The mad romantic, the soul-searching adventurer, the vain, pompous, arrogant, stubborn egotist? Right. Egotist." Derek smiled. It was exciting to have her sitting next to him. Except for rehearsing bits of business together, they hadn't been this close for some time, and he was surprised to discover how much she liked it. He was nervous and relaxed at the same time. "Derek, pay attention, I'm talking to you," she said gently. "Listen, I've been thinking about the differences between us and the people back then, or the way they were presented anyway. I can't help but wonder if anyone today has ever had the kind of love Ophelia has for Hamlet, or Lady Macbeth has for Macbeth. I'm serious. I know Ophelia is definitely a weak creature. Hi there, Dad, use me as a pawn in your nefarious schemes, please? But for all that, she really does love with consuming passion. Never met anyone on Aurora who's felt that kind of love. That I know of, naturally. But I think I would be able to tell if there were any Ophelias out there." "How about yourself?" he asked with an unexpected catch in his voice. "Me? No, I've never felt that kind of passion." She narrowed her eyes as she looked at him. He couldn't help but wonder what she was really thinking as she pulled away from him, putting her foot on the bed, and rested her head on her knee. "I've had sex, of course, and crushes, but nothing like Ophelia must feel." She paused, buried her head in her gown, then lifted her head just enough so he could see her raise an eyebrow, with a decidedly interesting intent. "I might be persuaded to try, though." Derek felt the lump the size of a sidewalk get stuck in his throat. "Ariel!" "Derek, are you a virgin?" "How am I supposed to know? I have amnesia." Now it was his turn to raise his eyebrows as she moved closer to him. "You know, there's another aspect to Ophelia," she said. "She represents something," closer, "something Hamlet needs, but which he has to deny in order to have his revenge. He was a user, too." "How about that?" closer. She leaned forward. He kissed her. No, he couldn't remember having felt anything quite like this before. Feeling obligated to pursue the matter scientifically, though, he felt confident he might remember after a little more experimentation. "Wait," she said after a time, pushing away. "I'm sorry, I got carried away there. I'm not always in control of myself." That's all right," he replied, feeling slightly embarrassed. "That's not the point. It's my medical condition. Don't be offended, but right now I feel a little healthier than common sense tells me I should. Remember how I acquired my little condition." "Don't worry, I won't forget," he said, drawing her toward him to kiss her again. Their lips were millimeters apart when there was an insistent knocking at the door. "Damn," he whispered in response. "It must be the Bryon police." "Master Derrick," said a cold, stone, metallic voice outside. "Mistress Ariel?" It was the voice of a hunter robot. "Yes, what is it?" Derrick shouted, then in a whisper, "See, I was right in a way. Mandelbrot sent me to locate you and remind you that you should depart for the new globe soon. There are a few details that only you can provide." "All right," Derrick said. "We'll be there soon." "Very good, sir," said the hunter robot, its voice already fading. "What did you say?" she asked. "Brain police?" "I don't know. It just popped into my head. If I remember correctly, the Brain police are something from some children's holodrama I saw when I was growing up. It's famous. They're from that series called Tyrants of Blood." Derek was amazed. "About a masked man who rescues helpless thought deviants on a totalitarian planet? I remember. Is that a clue to my identity?" "I doubt it. I said it was famous. And it was syndicated, seen all over the known systems. It's been playing for generations." "Oh, so it means nothing." "No, it means at least we can be sure you're from some civilized world." "Thanks a lot. Come on. Our public awaits." Okay. I hope you all enjoy this chapter. Believe it or not, the next one's even shorter, and the one after that is even shorter still. Anyway, hope you all had a fantastic New Year's. Post what you put for your New Year's goals down below. Think that'd be interesting to look at. Anyway, hope you all have a happy New Year.